You're live with Nightline on ENCA. I'm Tembekile Mkhototo. Welcome back. Last week, we brought you a conversation with Limpopo's Health MEC Dr. Phophi Ramathuba, you might remember, about the state of affairs at the department. One of the questions I put to the MEC during that conversation was about 7 young doctors who took the department to court and actually won after it terminated their contracts. The group who had been let go because of a lack of funds to keep them on the payroll, but won the case because a court found that the health department had broken the terms of a government bursary agreement with those doctors by not keeping them in its employ. Well, in that interview, the MEC said that her office had in fact won that case on appeal, but the community service doctors say that is not true. I want you to take a listen now to what exactly the MEC said in that conversation, and then we're going to speak to those young doctors' advocates shortly. Take a listen.
In the case we appeal and another different ruling. That's why we didn't implement it. You are not getting my point. We went to appeal for the case. Actual Treasury says we have to appeal for this case because we don't have the money to appoint this one. And the case, we won the case if you follow it up.
Let's talk about this further then and bring in advocate Mpafulani Jerry Goma, who represented those 7 doctors. He says MEC Phophi Ramathuba misrepresented the facts. Advocate, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for coming in. So the MEC, you heard there in her own words, took this matter apparently on appeal and had the decision overturned. You disagree. If that is not true, what is the truth?
I think MEC is very much confused, if I can put it like that, because the court order which was obtained on the 17th of January 2019, that court order is still valid. There was no any appeal which was made by the department. Remember, the department was represented by the state attorney in that particular case. There is a court order granted by Honorable Judge Meller in the High Court of South Africa in Limpopo Division. I was there doing the case, and to this date, as I'm telling you, there is no any appeal. The court order directed the MEC to reinstate those particular doctors because there is a contract between the department and those doctors. Remember that particular contract. The Department of Treasury is not a party to that particular contract. And the contract is binding between 2 parties. And there is no any provision in that particular contract or a clause which says if the Treasury does not have money and therefore they cannot renew the contract of those doctors. There is no such a clause. The contract is binding between the doctors and the department. And as we speak, it is shocking for the MEC to wake up in the morning and come here on the national TV and mislead the people of South Africa. That is an insult to the people of South Africa to come here and say you have appealed, while you know that there was no such an appeal. And in fact, just to make an indication, there were 3 letters, in fact, which were written to the MEC. The first letter was written on the 18th of January. The other letter was written on the 22nd of January. In fact, 2 letters on the 22nd of January, reminding the MEC of the decision of the court to say that up to so far, the court has directed that your decision not to renew the contracts of these particular doctors has been set aside or has been suspended by the court.
Let me ask you this then, Advocate Goma. If, as you say, this is all laid out in court papers that the Limpopo Health Department is still legally obligated to keep these 7 ComServe doctors in its employ because of this contract, why would the MEC come on national television and say that that was appealed successfully by the department? Because essentially what you're saying is that she lied.
I think what maybe a small mistake which the journalist maybe failed to follow was supposed to request an MEC approve. As I've been able to give all the court orders before I attend this interview, I can safely say that there was no appeal. You know, an appeal, there is a time frame period upon which one should make an appeal if you are not satisfied with the decision of the court. So to this date, as I'm talking to you, there is no such an appeal. Hence, I'm saying, What the MEC told the people of South Africa is an insult, because he undermined the people whereby she thinks she can wake up in the morning and come to the national TV and say she has won the case. Similarly, in fact, she's proud of this thing. We are talking about the young doctors, for that matter, which in fact she was supposed to sympathize with them.
And let's talk about those young doctors, Advocate Goma, because it's my understanding that, yes, this matter was settled by a court, by your version, in January already. We're sitting in December. They've not been assigned posts at the health facilities in Limpopo. Why has that not happened, despite your multiple correspondence with the department?
You know, you can ask that question again, but this can only mean one thing, that what kind of MEC is Limpopo government is having. As I've already indicated, an MEC who can wake up in the morning and come on a national radio, TV, and just lie to the people of South Africa. Equally so, there is a court order that she must comply with. She's undermining the court. The question is, at a time, will she still have an opportunity to go to the court and appeal that court order, whereas she is aware that she was supposed to appeal? She did not appeal. She does not reinstate the doctors, but will the court give her a hearing when she wants to approach the court? Because similarly, when the court decide otherwise, she undermine our courts, because simply she's a politician and no one is above the law. But what I can tell you is that the department is now indebted to those doctors.
So legally, Advocate Goma, why have you not been able to force the department to assign these doctors duties at its facilities if indeed there is a court judgment in their favor saying they should be allowed to go to work?
I can safely tell you that there is a pending application for contempt of court against the MEC. The process is still pending, is busy rolling on. That the MEC, remember, if a high court has granted an order and one does not comply with that order, what we need to do is to make an application for contempt of court. In an application for contempt of court, one might be sent to be prison for 90 days or pay a fine of maybe around 300,000. But at the end of the day, the situation as it stands, the department is owing those young doctors simply because those young doctors, they never made an agreement with the Department of Treasury. They made an agreement with the Department of Health. So whatever problems which the department is encountering with regard to their finances, a contract is a contract, is a legally binding document. You cannot use any other thing to amend. Even those doctors, if they didn't want to serve for the department after completing their qualification, they cannot just walk away and open their own practices because they are bound by the contract. So the department as well, there is no exception. Remember, South Africa is a constitutional, yes. South Africa is a constitutional state. We are all equal, so we must be treated equally. So,
Advocate Goma, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I've no doubt we might be, in fact, I think we will definitely be hearing from the MEC as this continues. And at some point, I'm hoping to have you both in studio so we can settle this properly. But for now, Advocate Jerry Goma, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.